Hey, what's going on, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy, and today we're going to be doing a video on lands. I've done 3 other parts. We are on the 4th part, and basically this is for like my EDH lovers out there who you just want to throw some spicy lands into your deck. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's get into the video. I'll list the other videos in the down bar below if you want to check them out. If you're someone like me who loves, like, I feel like there's just so many, like, I think that's what's so cool about EDH, like, there's so many cards, but, like, that kind of is, like, a good thing and a bad thing because you have access to so many things, but, like, it leaves room for so many people to forget about things. So that's why I think these videos are helpful. So, the first land is Vesuva. If you have just some money to throw around, this card's really sweet. It's really cool because if you're like, hey, I really like this other land, I really wish I had 2, Vesuva is your answer. I will say, though, with this land, this is not something to just throw in there. Like, I feel like you need to have other lands that, like, make this land more worthwhile, or at least, like, multiple lands to make that, but I do really like Vesuva. I think it's really sweet, and yeah. The next land is Dark Depths. I've really been thinking recently how I feel like just every deck should just seemingly run Dark Depths because it's really good if you just have like nothing to do with your mana. And there's so many ways that you can just like sack counters with it. I believe Vesuva Dark Depths actually is a combo in that. Pretty sure. No, I'm sorry, it's another land. It's Thespian Stage. I don't know why I thought Vesuva. But anyways, there's so many ways to like remove counters from it, and then you just casually get, you know, 2020 indestructible and flying. Like, this card just kills people in 2 shots. But honestly, even if you don't have ways to like readily remove counters, it's really good if you have nothing else to do with your mana. I'm on the Dark Depths train. I think this card is like super sweet. Yeah. Okay, the next card is Mirrorpool. I had to bring my computer closer because I can't see, it's too far away. I am blind. Okay, so ATB's tapped, and adds colors to your pool. For 3 mana, you can sack it to copy instant or sorcery that you control and choose new targets. I'm a huge fan of the, like, Riku of 2 Reflections, or, like, Mizzix, or, like, whatever, like, copy things. I wanted to build one at one point. Actually, I don't remember if I did or not, but like, just like control heavy decks, but like, even if you're not doing that, this is still really sweet. Like, you're gonna be running plenty of instants and sorceries, and like, this is really good for spot removal. You can just like have something, or a counter spell, or whatever. And then for 5, you can sack it to put, a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of target creature control. I like this because it does multiple things, and it does things at different points of the game, where sometimes you just really need another creature, or other times you just really need to sack this to copy an instant sorcery. Overall, I think this card is really sweet. Okay, the next card is Oran, Rief, the Vastwood. I do not think a lot of people know this card exists, but it is amazing in mono green or mostly green EDH decks because this gets out of hand like so fast. Like, it is just 1+1/+1 counter, and I do admit that. Like, it's not like Gavany Township where you can just do it as many times as you have mana. But, like, a lot of times if you're doing, and even if you're not doing something with +1/+1 counters, I still think this card is really good. It's really good too, like, I tend to find that with monocolored decks, like, your lands are kind of boring, and like, if you're doing a monocolored green deck, like, I think this card's really sweet to put in there, especially like Green Stoppy, where you just have like all these creatures. Honestly, even if too, like, you have this and you just give your commander another point of damage, like, I think that's still really important. I found a lot of times, depending on with like the math of your commander, like, say you have a commander that's like, I don't know, like a 10/10, and you just casually make it so like that leaves it to make it 11/11. That only means that it takes 2 times for you to swing at your opponent versus like 3 times, which is really important and can be, you know, game winning. So yeah, I like this land a lot. I think it's sweet. Okay, one of my favorites is Rogue's Passage. I'm on this Rogue's Passage train recently because I just think this land is so important. I feel like a lot of times I have this thing in my head where I'm like, okay, it would be really sweet if I had like a creature that just did this one thing, like make a creature unblockable. But then I'm like, but the creature's just gonna die, like, whatever. But then, like, I think it's really sweet when you have these awesome abilities on lands. Yes, land destruction is a thing and you're gonna see it, but at least in my EDH group, people aren't running, like, mass land destruction. It's not a thing. Like, someone may blow up your ghost quarter, your whatever, but, like, it's not like they're doing it, like, crazy. At least it's just in my play group. I mean, some people's, I'm sure, but, like, you'll see this. But I really like Rogue's Passage to make particularly commanders unblockable. I think this is really important. In a lot of decks where you're like, hey, I have this really fragile commander, but they have huge impact upon upon doing damage. But then it's like, oh, how do I get them to do that? Like, the creature's so fragile, they're just gonna block it. Rogue's Passage really just answers that. It is kind of a lot of mana, to be honest, but again, I find a lot of people aren't doing mass land destruction, so it's pretty easy to, like, you know, to get this. Yeah, I think this card's great. Speaking of land disruption, we have Field of Ruin. I think this is just going to be a massively important card for a lot of people to just slide into their EDH decks. It's non-basic, and it's only thing one land an opponent controls, but what I really like about Field of Ruin is that you get a land and your opponent gets a land. So it's kind of a, I don't want to say political card, but it's kind of nice because it's not just like you get a land out of it, which I think is just really important. It is basic, but like, I don't know. I find a lot of people don't run enough basics in any format ever. I always feel like I run just more basics than anyone. But yeah, I do really like Field of Ruin. I think it can be used definitely to your advantage. What I really like too about this card is that you don't have to do it. Like, it's not like something, it's like you always have to sack it to whatever. No, like, you can just let this stay on the field until there's a land that's really threatening. And yeah, and I don't really think you care about the 2 mana. This is EDH, you're running Mana Rocks and Mana Dorks, so I don't think it matters. Okay, Exotic Orchard. I think this card is really important in decks that run a lot of colors, where you're someone who's like, I really don't want to pay like a lot of money for a land. The thing about Exotic Orchard is that sometimes it is just a null card. Like, sometimes it just doesn't do anything. I found, though, that the amount of times it does stuff outweigh the times it doesn't do anything. So if you're worried about that, like, it's not like you're going to be sitting across from all these people who are playing, like, colorless decks. Maybe you'll see that every, like, once in a blue moon, but, like, that's not something that's, like, massively popular. I would not worry about that too much. You're gonna get value off of this land. It's not a pain land. It doesn't do damage to you. It's not like you have to... It doesn't cost anything to activate. All that is required is that for someone to just have some land. I think this is really sweet for decks. Like, I'm someone, like, I don't want to put shocklands in my EDH decks yet. That's towards modern, you know what I mean? Like, shocklands I don't need for EDH. Sure, they make my gameplay smoother, but, like, that's, like, something I'm not, like, urgently, like, seeking. Like, I need to get this, if that makes sense. So Exotic Orchard's a really good answer for people who are in my position who, like, don't want to put a lot of money in their mana base. This is a really great card for it, and I like it a lot. Another really sweet value land, I would say, is Opal Palace. I think this is just such a great auto-include in any EDH deck, but what I really want to know is the text on this card. There's a lot of text on this card, and I think a lot of people misread it, so I want to read it. You add 1 colorless to your pool, so if anything, it just is a colorless land, and it doesn't come in tap, which is sweet. For 1 mana, and then you have to tap it, so you need this land plus another land to do this thing. You add to your mana pool 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. A lot of people misread that text or ignore it or whatever. So basically what this means is, like, if I have, say, 4 out of my 5 colors, I can tap a land and tap this to get a land that I need, a color that I need that I don't have access to currently. Is that, like, annoying? Yeah, because, like, you're tapping 2 lands to produce 1 color. I agree. But there are instances where, like, I'm in, like, 5 color or I'm in 4 color and I, like, don't have access to, like, one of my colors. So it's really important to, like, do that sometimes. It does suck, but it is there. However, the really big thing I would say is if you spend this to cast your commander and it's a battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the number of times it's been cast from the command zone. So basically it's just like, how many times it's been cast from the command zone. So it's really sweet. Someone kills your commander 5 times. Sweet, you just tap 2 mana, gets 5 +1/+1 counters on it. I really like this because it rewards basically people for killing your commander. They want your commander off the table. You're like, cool, sweet, it's just gonna get bigger. I really, really like this land. I think it's a very underrated land. I like it a lot. Okay, then we have Path of Ancestry. I don't know why I can't say this word. Ancestry. I feel like I'm saying that wrong, but okay. So ETB is tapped. Add to your mana pool 1 mana of any color in your color's commander identity. Hey, that's sweet. And when that mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, you scry 1. This is just everything that tribal decks want in a land, basically. This card's amazing. It just, like, you're running 2 colors, and it gets you any color, which is amazing. Like, honestly, that's just sweet in and of itself. That's like another command tower, but this enters tap, which I don't really care about. So it does that, but then it's spent to cast a creature that shares a creature type with your commander. You just get to scry. This is amazing. Every tribal deck should have this in their deck, hands down, no questions. Card sweet. And the last land we're going to be talking about in this video is High Market. This card is really sweet. I've seen people really use this card to its full advantage. So basically you add colorless to your pool, and then you can sack a creature to just gain a life. What I think is really important to note about this card is, I was playing some EDH game, and someone was like, I'm gonna exile your board. And I had something where I was like, I'm just gonna sack my stuff in response. Which is one of the best things, because then they go to the graveyard, which I have a chance to recur them later, versus exile, which is one reason why I think High Market's really good. It's really good because, you know, you're playing this in a deck where you want things to go to the graveyard, and also you just gain life out of it. I, like, think this card is just sweet. I should honestly run this card in Tassiger. I don't know why I'm not. But, yeah, High Market's definitely a really sweet card to run in graveyard recursion decks, or just anything where you need a little bit of life, or anything where your playgroup runs a lot of exile things where you'd rather them go to the graveyard. That is it, guys. That is it for this video on lands. I really like to talk about these, like, EDH videos just because, again, there's just a huge pool of cards, and it's really hard to keep track of all of them. So I hope you guys found this video helpful, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.